Every winter, the same thing happens in the West. It tears through offices, schools, and households like clockwork. One person sneezes on a Monday, and by Friday half the building is down. You know the drill, the scratchy throat that starts on a Sunday night, the tissues on the nightstand, the week of foggy, miserable, barely functional days you just have to grind through until it finally passes. Now look at Japan in winter. People are out. They're on packed trains, in crowded offices, in busy restaurants, shoulder to shoulder. By every measure, the conditions for illness to spread should be just as bad, if not worse. And yet the rate of serious respiratory illness, the kind that flattens you for a week, runs noticeably lower. Let me be straight with you before we go any further. Japanese people do get sick. They are not superhuman. Colds and flu circulate there every winter, same as everywhere else. If you've ever seen the sea of face masks in a Tokyo train station in January, you already know they take illness seriously enough to protect against it. So this isn't a claim that Japan has solved the common cold. What is true, and what's genuinely worth paying attention to, is that a handful of ordinary everyday habits stack up together to make the body a much harder target. And they do it so naturally that most people there never even think of them as protection at all. Today I'll walk you through 7 of those habits. None of them are expensive, none require a prescription, and every single one of them is something you can start today. Stay with me. Until number 5, because it sounds almost too simple to be real, and it's probably the single most effective thing on this entire list. At the very end, I'll give you the 1-week winter stack so you know exactly which of these to combine first. Let's get into it. Number 1. Wearing a mask in public when you're sick became completely normal long before it was ever a rule. In much of the West, mask wearing during illness felt strange, even offensive to some people, right up until a global pandemic forced the conversation. In Japan, it had been completely ordinary for generations. Nobody needed a government mandate to tell them to wear one. If you had a cold, you wore a mask on the train. You wore one at work. You wore one at the shops. Not because anyone forced you to, but because not doing so when you were clearly unwell was simply considered inconsiderate to everyone around you. And that cultural norm does something powerful at a population level. When the people who are actually sick are consistently covering their mouths and noses in public, the cloud of respiratory droplets that would otherwise be floating freely through every train carriage, and every office corridor gets stopped at the source before it ever has a chance to reach anyone else. The mask is doing its best work not on the healthy person wearing it for protection, but on the sick person wearing it to protect everyone around them. That flipped framing, protecting others rather than protecting yourself, is what made the habit stick in Japan when it never really caught on elsewhere. It became an act of social consideration rather than personal fear, and that made it something people were genuinely willing to do. Here's the shift. You don't need to wear a mask every day in winter, but the next time you are clearly unwell and you still need to be around other people, wearing one isn't an overreaction. It's the single most direct and effective thing you can do to avoid becoming the person who took down the whole office. Number 2, hand washing is taken seriously, consistently, and without shortcuts. In Japan, washing your hands when you come home is not something anyone has to remind you to do. It's simply the first thing you do when you walk through the door, before you touch anything, before you sit down, before you reach into the fridge, you wash your hands. It's as automatic as taking off your shoes at the genkan. It just happens, every time without thought. And in public, hand washing is treated with the same thoroughness. It's not a quick splash and shake dry. It's soap, a proper scrub, all the surfaces covered, rinsed clean. In a country where many public restrooms still don't offer paper towels, many people carry their own small cloth towels specifically so there's never an excuse to skip the proper dry. Now this matters enormously because your hands are the primary highway for cold and flu viruses to get from the world into your body. You touch a surface that an infected person touched. You touch your face, your eyes, your mouth, your nose, which all of us do far more often than we realize. Dozens of times every single day without noticing. And whatever was on that surface now has a direct path in. The research on hand washing and respiratory illness is as consistent as it gets. Washing your hands properly and regularly, especially after being in public and before touching your face or your food, is one of the most reliably effective ways to reduce your chances of getting sick that exists. It costs nothing. It takes 20 seconds. And yet most people in the West do it sporadically, briefly, and poorly. Here's the shift. Make walking through your front door the trigger. Every single time you come home from anywhere, you wash your hands before you do anything else. No exceptions, no skipping when you're tired. That one automatic habit alone closes off one of the most common routes any virus has into your body. Number 3. Green tea is the background drink of the entire day. Think about what the average person in the West is sipping throughout their day: coffee loaded with sugar, soda, sweetened energy drinks, things that offer a spike and not much else. In Japan, the default drink running quietly in the background all day long is green tea. With meals between tasks, at the office, at home, in the waiting room, it's just always there. And green tea is not simply a warm, pleasant drink. It contains natural compounds, particularly one called EGCG, that have genuine antimicrobial properties. Research has specifically looked at how these compounds interact with certain cold and flu viruses, and the findings are interesting enough that this is a live area of study in Japanese public health, not a fringe claim. Beyond that, green tea carries antioxidants that support immune function in a broader sense, giving the body's defenses a quiet, steady daily resource to draw from. Now, I want to be honest with you here because this part matters. Green tea is not a cure. Drinking it will not make you immune to getting sick. But consider the comparison. A person who drinks several cups of unsweetened green tea every single day from October through March is doing something consistently different from a person drinking soda and sugary coffee through those same months. Day after day, across an entire winter season, that quiet daily difference in what's running through the body adds up to something real. Here's the shift. You don't need to replace every drink you enjoy, but if you can build 1 or 2 cups of plain green tea into the ordinary rhythm of your day, especially through the colder months when your immune system is working hardest, you're giving your body a steady, gentle daily resource that costs almost nothing and asks almost nothing of you. Number 4. They gargle when they walk through the door, every single time. This one surprises almost everyone in the West the first time they hear it, but in Japan it's so common that school children are taught to do it as a matter of routine. The habit is simple. When you come home from being out in public, you gargle with water or sometimes with a mild antiseptic wash before you do anything else. The logic underneath it is straightforward and genuinely sound. When you've been in public spaces, breathing shared air on trains, in shops and offices, viral particles can settle in your throat and the back of your mouth before your immune system has even had a chance to register them. Gargling rinses the back of the throat, physically flushing out whatever may have landed there before it has a chance to take hold and begin multiplying. Multiple studies in Japan have looked at this habit directly and found that people who gargle regularly after being out in public do get sick at lower rates during cold and flu season than those who don't. This is not a folk remedy or cultural folklore being dressed up as science. It has been studied specifically because it's so widely practiced, and the findings have been consistent enough to keep it firmly embedded in public health guidance. In Japan, combined with the hand-washing habit from number 2, this gives you a genuine decontamination routine every single time you come home. Hands first, throat second, 2 minutes at most. And the window of vulnerability between being out in the world and being safely sealed off from whatever you encountered out there gets dramatically smaller. Here's the shift. Add gargling to your coming home routine right alongside hand washing. Plain water works. It genuinely doesn't need to be complicated or expensive. The few seconds it takes to gargle when you walk in is a real, practical, research-backed barrier between the viral world outside and your own body inside. Number 5. This is the one I promised, and it's probably the most important on the list. Nobody in Japan sits down at a meal and thinks, I'm eating this for my immune system. They're not following a protocol or ticking off a supplement list. They're just eating the way they normally eat. And the ordinary, everyday Japanese diet happens to be one of the most immune-supportive ways of eating on the planet, almost by accident. Think about what the typical meal actually looks like. A bowl of miso soup, which is a live fermented food full of beneficial bacteria that directly support gut health. A serving of fish, rich in omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation and support immune signaling. Vegetables and seaweed, providing a wide range of vitamins and minerals the immune system uses as raw material every single day. Fermented sides like pickled vegetables that keep feeding the gut microbiome, and underneath all of it, portion sizes that keep the body at a weight where the immune system isn't spending extra resources managing the inflammation that comes with excess body fat. Here's why the gut connection matters so much. A huge proportion of your immune system lives in your gut. The bacteria there are not passive bystanders. They are active participants in how well your immune defenses function. Feed them well, consistently, with the fermented and fiber-rich foods that support a diverse microbiome, and your immune system works better. Feed them poorly with processed food and constant sugar, and it doesn't. That's not a metaphor, it's immunology. The Western diet, heavy in processed food, refined sugar, and low in fermented or fiber-rich options, is actively working against immune function every single day. Not dramatically, not all at once, but quietly and steadily across weeks and months and years. The Japanese diet quietly works in the opposite direction by the same slow and steady logic. Here's the shift. You don't need to overhaul everything you eat overnight. Start with 1 bowl of miso soup a day. Add 1 fermented food to your meals, whether that's a good yogurt, kimchi, or pickled vegetables. Eat fish twice a week. Small, steady changes to what goes in every day are what move the needle on immune function, not a supplement you take once and forget about. Number 6. They use heat deliberately as a tool against illness. By now you already know about the nightly bath from our earlier conversation. But here's the specific angle that connects it directly to getting sick less often. The hot soak every night isn't only for relaxation and sleep. It's also a form of mild, deliberate thermal stress that the immune system quietly responds to. When your body temperature rises, even slightly, the environment becomes less hospitable for certain viruses and bacteria. Your immune cells also become more active during mild warming. It's the same basic principle behind a fever. Your body deliberately runs hot when it's fighting something because heat is part of the defense. The nightly bath creates a small, controlled, pleasant version of that same effect every single evening before anything has even managed to get a foothold. On top of that, staying warm in general matters far more than most people acknowledge. In Japan, there is a strong cultural understanding that getting chilled, keeping the body cold, especially the neck, the feet, and the abdomen, suppresses immune function and leaves you more vulnerable. Whether you're at home or out in the cold, keeping warm is treated as a practical health decision, not just a comfort preference. You'll see this everywhere. Neck warmers, undershirts, warm socks, hot drinks carried from home. Warmth is maintained as a deliberate choice throughout the day, not just grabbed it when you're already freezing. And your body's immune system genuinely does operate better when it isn't spending extra resources simply trying to maintain its core temperature against the cold. Here's the shift. Take your nightly bath seriously as an immune habit through winter, not just a relaxation ritual. And stay warm proactively throughout the cold months. Keep your neck and feet covered, drink something warm during the day, and don't let yourself get and stay chilled for hours on end. Cold comfort and better immunity are not the same thing. Number 7. They rest early before the illness actually wins. Here's where Japanese culture does something the West is genuinely terrible at. In the West, there's a strange badge of honor around pushing through, going to work sick, powering on through the scratchy throat and the heavy head, not letting a little cold slow you down. You drag yourself in, you sit at your desk, you feel miserable, you get everyone around you sick, and you drag the whole thing out for 2 weeks instead of 1. In Japan, the cultural default when you feel something coming on is to treat it as a signal to stop, not to push. You go home early, you rest properly, you eat light, warm, easy food, you sleep. You give your body the full resources it needs to fight back at exactly the moment, when fighting back is still actually possible, before the virus has fully established itself and the battle becomes much harder. And your immune system genuinely needs those resources. Sleep is when the body produces and deploys the cytokines, the proteins that target infection and drive the immune response. Cut your sleep short when you're fighting something off and you are actively reducing your own ability to fight it. Rest is not passive. During illness, rest is doing real biological work, and refusing to take it is the same as refusing to let your body use its best weapon. The Japanese habit of resting promptly isn't considered weakness, it's considered sensible. You rest early, you recover faster, and you come back well instead of dragging a half-fought illness around for weeks, making everyone else miserable in the process. Here's the shift. Change the way you think about rest when you first feel something coming on. It isn't giving up. It isn't weakness. It's the single fastest path through. The moment you feel the first signs, go home, get warm, sleep, eat something light and nourishing. Let your body fight when the fight is still easy to win, and it will win far more quickly than if you wait until you're completely flattened before you finally agree to stop. So there they are, 7. Ordinary habits, none of them dramatic, none of them expensive, none of them requiring anything that isn't already available to you right now. Mask up when you're sick to protect others. Wash your hands the moment you're home. Drink green tea through the day. Gargle when you walk in the door. Eat to feed your gut and your immune system. Keep your body warm and rest the moment your body asks you to. None of those habits on their own is a magic shield, but stacked together, running quietly in the background day after day throughout the cold season, they close off the most common routes illness uses to get in, feed the immune system the resources it needs to fight, and give the body the rest it needs to actually win those fights when they happen. Here's the 1-week winter stack I promised. For the next 7 days, I want you to add just 3 things. Wash your hands and gargle every single time you come home, no exceptions. Swap 1 drink a day for plain green tea, and the next time you feel even slightly run down, rest that evening instead of pushing through. Just those 7 days. Notice the difference in how your body feels by the end of it. No supplement, no special product, just the habits that quietly keep an entire country healthier through winter than most of the world ever manages to be. Tell me in the comments which of these 7 you're adding first and which one surprised you most. And if you've got someone in your life who seems to catch everything that goes around every single winter, share this with them. Sometimes the simplest stack of small daily habits is the thing that finally changes the pattern. I'll see you in the next one.